Good afternoon, I'm Krisa Nashkate. Welcome to APTN National News. One of the chiefs at the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations is speaking out against their fellow FSIN chiefs. Last week, Indigenous Services Canada and KPMG released a summary of their forensic audit into the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations. This week, after a long silence, the FSIN responded, but FSIN 4th Vice Chief Craig McCollum said he cannot, in good conscience, stand behind the statement released by FSIN this week. On Thursday, McCollum released a letter to First Nation chiefs across the province. He said he wasn't buying what the FSIN was saying in the statement they released on Wednesday. In that statement, the FSIN said the audit into $34.2 million over a 5-year period was baseless, was subject to unreasonable tight deadlines, and ignored properly approved transactions. The FSIN claimed they asked for a full copy of the audit but never got it. ISC told APTN they have no record of that request. McCollum says that only transparency, humility, and listening to the wisdom of Indigenous people can heal the wounds caused by secrecy surrounding the audit. FSIN Chief Bobby Cameron has not spoken publicly on the audit. The Nahanni Must Go protest rally outside the Manitoba legislature on Wednesday afternoon heated up when counter-protesters showed up. And as APTN Sav Jonesa reports, the rally comes on the heels of smashed windows and firebombing at the minister's constituency office over the past few weeks.
Protesters rallied for the resignation of Manitoba Cabinet Minister Nahanni Fontaine on Wednesday, the day after her constituency office was firebombed. Roughly 50 people came out to the Manitoba legislature. Some said Fontaine doesn't advocate for everyone in Manitoba. Protester Colin Watson is a former Canadian Armed Forces crewman. He's also a politician with the People's Party of Canada. He read messages between him and Fontaine from earlier this year.
She replied saying, "Take a deep breath, little guy. Oh, is that how you talk to your ex-military? Is that how you talk to Métis, wounded ex-military folks that serve their country?"
The Nahanni Must Go rally was planned after Fontaine shared a post from an Instagram user last month. The post condemned American right-wing activist Charlie Kirk the day after he was assassinated. An online petition calling for her removal currently has just under 10,000 signatures. A couple dozen counter-protesters showed up to support Fontaine.
Every fiber in my body just willed me to be here.
Casey Abraham says there is a strong political divide in the province.
Especially with Nahanni's office being burned and Bernadette's being damaged the days before. That just proves how much divide there is in this province, and it shouldn't be that way.
One protester tried to speak with the Fontaine supporters ahead of the rally speeches, but was met with turned backs. Speaker Max Ganest referred to Fontaine as evil and directed his anger towards her supporters interrupting the rally.
These people are freaks. What you're seeing here is uncivilized, barbaric behavior. Do you hear that microphone screeching? That's some lady yelling into a mic. What is that behavior? That is beyond unhuman.
Barb Guimond, a longtime advocate for missing and murdered Indigenous people, sat between both sides. She says she doesn't agree with the views of the Nahanni Must Go rally, but does believe Fontaine isn't fit for the ministerial position.
I don't condone hate, I don't condone violence, I don't condone the fact that her building was destroyed. But Nahanni should work with all people. And she has been ignoring the families that she's supposed to be working for. And she doesn't. And she says she's inclusive, but she's not. She leaves out certain families from MMIW. And yes, I believe she should sit down.
Inside the legislative building, Premier Wab Kinew called the Nahanni Must Go protesters, quote, goofballs. He says the attacks against Fontaine and MLA Bernadette Smith's offices seem targeted.
Recently, there was a protest outside of my constituency office. It was 300 people, I think one of the outlets reported, but nobody thought to light a match. So it does seem like there's a gender angle at work here. And, you know, this happening on September 30th, this happening to the first two Indigenous women appointed to Manitoba's cabinet, it seems like there's an Indigenous angle to this as well.
There is no known correlation between the Nahanni Must Go protesters and the vandalism affecting Smith and Fontaine, as police say there are currently no arrests or suspects. Early Thursday, Fontaine spoke out about the firebombing for the first time at an unrelated event.
It's not something that's just over in a couple of days. This is something that we're going to carry with us for the rest of our lives.
She says these incidents aren't just an attack on her and Smith, but an attack on community.
We worked hard to be here. We continue to work hard for our responsibilities, for our departments, for our communities, for our relatives, and no amount of attacks will ever push us out of this.
Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Staying in Manitoba, where the government announced they are investing in a 24/7 low-barrier emergency safe space for Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit and gender-diverse people. The $3.5 million investment will go toward an 8-bed facility named the Mino-Aweyak-Ikweyak Lodge. It is expected to open next year. The province is also committing to fund the operation costs once completed. This comes from the province's strategy, also named the same name, which is the Anishinaabe translation for All Women Doing Well.
I want to be clear with everyone. The Mino-Aweyak-Ikweyak Lodge is not a shelter proper. It is meant for 24 to 48-hour stays and by referrals. This lodge will serve as a bridge, a soft handoff, helping women to connect to broader web of supports that they may need, including housing, healthcare, addictions treatment, justice supports, cultural healing, and community connection.
We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. And to read and watch our stories, you can go to aptnnews.ca. And you can find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. When we come back, we'll tell you about how one First Nation in Ontario is looking to protect the water. Thanks for staying with us. When it comes to protecting the water, a First Nation in southern Ontario is choosing to take a stand. Alderville First Nation is currently looking at a legal personhood initiative as a way to speak for the water. To date, the Magpie River in Quebec is the only body of water in Canada that has the right to be protected. Here's APTN's Annette Francis with that story.
This small group of water walkers are here to show their support in a plan of action to better protect Rice Lake. It is home to the Mississauga community of Alderville First Nation, which is located on its southern shores. Chief Tainer Simpson says this lake has been the breadbasket for generations, but now it's in trouble.
It's seen an influx of invasive species, a lot of sea plants have come in that are invasive, and they're squeezing the oxygen out of the water. We're getting a buildup of excess nutrients from the nutrients coming off of the farm systems. So I saw that as something that we could make a difference in.
Simpson says the idea of legal personhood came about when a local mayor suggested he look into it. It means the lake would have the same legal rights as a person. For example, the right to be protected from such harms as pollution.
The precedence was set by the Magpie River in Quebec, and this was an Indigenous-led, First Nation-led project where they achieved legal personhood status for the Magpie River. And this was a pristine river system that they wanted to protect from future development. Our situation is slightly different because Rice Lake is in need of help. It's not pristine the way it used to be.
Alderville councillor Cassie McEwen grew up on Rice Lake. She's seen drastic changes in her lifetime. She says recognizing that the lake has a right to be protected is essential to all aspects of life.
I'm 31 years old, and there's a lot less frogs. We used to look for frogs in the ditches, and there's a lot less amphibians. There's barely any bullfrogs anymore. We used to have these really big bullfrogs, and I can remember hearing them. And this year, I haven't even seen one. So the species are, the biodiversity is going down, and invasive species are taking over.
As the water walk ends, another event is scheduled when renowned Cree actor Tom Jackson hosts a Truth and Reconciliation event. He will match donations, and all proceeds will go to the Rice Lake Personhood initiative.
Chief Simpson said, well, we're just starting to put life back in our waters. We're starting to get the rice back where there was an abundance of it. And now it's just what we have been able to restore. And I said, what's that? And he explained to me that it was giving legal rights to call the water human and to treat the water like a human. Water is our life's blood.
According to Simpson, in an effort to gain allies, there will be many more discussions about the initiative with local stakeholders. He says it could take a year or two to gain legal personhood, depending on the hurdles ahead. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Alderville, First Nation.
The Kakawishtahow First Nation north of Broadview in southern Saskatchewan has recently opened up an auto body shop to help train new technicians from the local community. It's a joint partnership between the Saskatchewan Indian Institute of Technologies and the Kakawishtahow First Nation. The first group of 15 students already started the program 2 weeks ago, with training running until December.
At the end of the day, we want to make sure that this learning space is for everybody. But in terms of Kakawishtahow, our chief and council are really proud that we can work together with our trust to provide an opportunity to help change lives, help change families, and help challenge and combat the residential school effect through education and through opportunity.
You love to see it. Chief Evan Tapatot went on to say that they will closely monitor the program with hopes on expanding in the future. First Nations in British Columbia are calling for a meeting with Prime Minister Mark Carney with hopes of both protecting and reviving wild salmon population.
We have Aboriginal rights. We have inherent rights. And if they were looked after appropriately by the federal and provincial crown, it would be a benefit to all First Nations and British Columbians.
The First Nations Wild Salmon Alliance says Ottawa should create a First Nation-led plan to protect the salmon. The alliance is worried the federal government will not follow through on its promise to ban open-net salmon farms by 2029. But other First Nations in rural areas who work with aquaculture say a ban on the industry will hurt the people who live in those areas.
So we look to continue those government-to-government discussions to build a responsible transition plan that acknowledges the $1.6 billion input to the economy that this sector brings, but more importantly, the 750 full-time jobs that exist in rural, remote First Nations communities where one job really supports 2 or 3 families sometimes. And so for activists in the downtown Vancouver area to tell these remote communities that they can't do something that brings economic livelihood to their territories is irresponsible.
Dallas Smith adds, while they are developing aquaculture, he says they are also taking significant steps to protect the salmon habitat. We now want to tell you about this week's third web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, Has the health system changed enough in terms of cultural awareness? You can answer yes, no, or not sure. Go to our website at aptnnews.ca/poll to have your say. We'll post the results next Monday. When we come back, we have an interview with 60 Scoop survivor and motivational speaker and artist, Raven Reed. Stay with us. Walalan for staying with us. St. John's 15 and sunny, Charlottetown 17 and sun's out there. Nujuak 5 in rain, La Grande River 7 and partly cloudy. Quebec City 16, St. Jovite 18 and sunny. Toronto 21, Sarnia 25. 17 in Sudbury, Sioux Lookout 15. 12 in God's Lake, Puckatawagan 12 as well and sunny. 15 in Gimli, Winnipeg 19 and sun there. Yorkton 12, Regina 13. Meadow Lake sunny there as well, +9, La Ronge +9. Fort McMurray 9, Fort Chipewyan 6. Lethbridge 18, Calgary 10. 15 in Kamloops, Tofino +12. Sandspit 11, Smithers 8. 5 in Beaver Creek, Whitehorse 10. 4 in Wati, Trout Lake showers there and +8. Sax Harbor -4, Colville Lake -1. +8 in Baker Lake and showers, Chesterfield rain and 8. And Arctic Bay -12 and sunny, Iqaluit +2. A Saskatchewan-based folk singer and songwriter took to the stage at the recent Breakout West Music Festival held in Winnipeg last week. But music isn't all that Raven Reed does. As a 60 Scoop survivor, she's a motivational speaker on issues such as mental health awareness, suicide prevention, as well as building self-confidence. She joined our TR Wheatley earlier. Here's that interview.
Raven, great to have you on the show. Can you tell us about how you got involved in this year's lineup at the Breakout West Festival?
Well, I'm actually assigned artist to Marilainen Music Incorporated, and my manager, Laura Marilainen, applied for me to go to Breakout West.
Yeah, and you know, as a folk singer yourself, where do you draw your inspiration to write your own songs from?
I write my own songs. The inspiration comes from my life. So I've had a really crazy life, so my songs reflect that.
Yeah, you know, tell me a little bit about that. You're also a 60 Scoop survivor. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you discovered your roots.
Going back to when I was born in Yellowknife, and then I was taken by the RCMP officers and social workers at the age of 4. They came and took me and several of my cousins and my siblings away from my granny's place. My parents and all the adults were working on a trap line in a hunting camp, and while they were gone, that's when they came and scooped us all. And then I ended up in a children's group home there for a bit in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. My family is originally from Mikisew Cree First Nations, and so the adopted family that I was adopted into, they moved us to Prince Albert. So they took us away from our culture, traditions. I lost all my languages. I used to speak Cree, French, Dene, Michif, English. So now I'm relearning Cree.
That's awesome. I always encourage people to learn the language, you know, but music isn't just all that you do. On top of that, you're also a motivational speaker. What topics do you tackle, and share a little bit about why they are so important to you?
I speak about suicide prevention because I myself went through that, dealing with mental health issues. I talk about self-esteem and self-confidence. I also speak about domestic violence. It was a part of my life, and the 60 Scoop.
You know, a lot of those topics, many Indigenous people have faced them. You know, why is that so important to hit those topics?
I feel that the more that we as Indigenous public speakers take up the space that we should be ours. I see people on TV when I was young, like on APTN, when APTN first started, and I would watch it and just be enthralled because it was the only channel that had Indigenous people on it. And from there, I was inspired to do something like that, to be out in the public and be able to tell our stories in a way, because I feel that I walk in two different worlds. I grew up in the non-Indigenous world, and I'm also Indigenous, so it's easier for me to kind of go back and forth and be able to speak to the non-Indigenous people about the plights of ours on treaty lands.
Yeah, and it's good that you're taking up that space, Raven. And before we go, Raven, tell us a little bit about some of those projects, some future projects that you have on the go here.
Oh, I'm all over the place. I was just at the incubator program at the National Music Center. I was also at Breakout West for some showcases. I'm off to the leadership program in Toronto, and then at Breakout West I was just invited to go to Folk Ontario. So I'll be playing there, and then from there I fly to Regina to be part of OSAC.
That sounds like you've got a busy schedule coming up. Thank you for joining us in studio today, making the time for us.
Thank you so much for having me here. Tinigay.
We wish you all the best, Raven. It is already Friday this week and October is here, and that means our French viewers get their dose of Nouvelle Nationale tonight. Host Kim Sullivan joins us now. Tanse, Kim.
Hey, Grayson. It's been a heavy week with the 5th anniversary of Joyce Echaquan's death and the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. But there is some light in those stories, and we're going to get to share that with viewers tonight.
And I saw that there is an open fire ban in Quebec right now.
Quite surprising. Fall starting with an open fire ban. We're seeing those cooler evenings that are just perfect for sitting around a fire, but no. 13 active fires as of today in Quebec and in many of our communities, actually all the way up to James Bay. There are high to extreme fire danger indexes. So we're going to share which communities and give a little bit more detail on tonight's show.
I'm hoping that those communities get some rain. You also met a young man with big ambitions.
Yes, his name is Luca Bakary. He's 21 years old. He's from this tiny community of Pessamit that's about 8 hours northeast of Montreal. He dreams of revitalizing the role of dogs within a community, and he's already making a splash within the canine world. So his ambition has spoken, Creason, and we're going to introduce him to our viewers tonight.
Sounds like an interesting and fun story. And last but not least, Kim, you dive into classical Indigenous music, hey?
Yes, deep into the Indigenous mosaic. It's a show happening this weekend, including 3 amazing Indigenous artists breaking barriers in their respective fields: the violin, the cello, opera, singing. They're coming together on stage with the Montreal Classical Symphony this weekend, and I got to meet 2 of those artists and the conductor, so we're going to share that with all of you.
Sounds like a great show. Thank you so much, Kim.
Have a great weekend, Creason.
And that's your daytime newscast for this Friday. We're back again with more stories in a few hours for your evening newscast. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News Daytime, Masicho, Hai Hai Miigwech, Walalin, thank you for joining us this week, and we'll see you same time, same place next Monday. Ekse.
We have like a 20 to time.